My cat's going bonkers. I don't know. Everything's we're live. Hey, gang. Welcome to Breakfast Poetry Live. It's April 28th, 2023. I have something to show from yesterday, but my cat really wants to chew on it. So, you know what? Come here. Okay. Look, here's me on tooth. And, well, he's a rascal, and he's up to his old tricks because, as I have heard, they make certain bags, like plastic bags and cellophane tape, and this bag from Half Price Books with like animal grease, which is horrible to think about. But anyway, the cats, they're just always going to have that whole carnivore streak, and he can't help himself. But look at him now. He's getting pretty. All right. So it's Friday, I believe. Countdown 3 days to the end of National Poetry Month, which is always a lot of kind of effort and work, but like gloriously, superbly so. And I'm going to miss it. There's going to be kind of a, it like vaults me out of bed because I'm such a poetry nerd. But now it's going to be like, I got to figure out some other reasons to get up and do what I should do. So I'll probably just keep on my own drawing from the beautiful words can and add to my document afterwards. I'm trying to think of a way to transition. It's like after the holidays, which I always overdo the holidays. And then afterwards, it's like, who am I? I don't know who I am. Well, with poetry, you can just go on doing it throughout the year. And it's like with Christmas, it becomes a little weird, probably. Well, it's time for a weird work. Let consciousness spin and find the real beyond the veil, burst through the smeared glass and cave wall to crying ache of understanding in loudest, scalding crystal. That's right, kitty. So that was today's weird work. The nighttime jumbled word falls that I love so well, but I really have to get in the zone to find them sometimes. But that's a good thing, because when I find them easily is usually a time of, I don't want to use the word despair, but there are those in human life, right? So I'm not the only one. Why don't we turn to beautiful word poems to be filled and the death of longing, a plethora of giddy and glittering sparks of the mundane equal windfall and fullness of belly and eyes. When the coffee steam coils, when eyes of that rock star splash fire from the magazine cover, these tricks are multitude and they fill, but they do not slay the beast of longing. You say fill is going too far, but I think they temporarily fill, maybe, but not lasting. Not to go on and on philosophically and theologically and such like, because I have a face to show you. Will you look at this face photographed in 1903? Look at this guy. Was he a children's poet? Well, yeah, sure he was. He was the incomparable Hilaire Belloc, whom we mentioned yesterday in Poetry Trivia. His epitaph was something like, let them say when I am dead, his sins were scarlet, but his books were red, R-E-E-D. Womp. I was trying to remember, was he really a children's poet, or was he just one of those sarcastic poets that I really kind of enjoyed in my 20s? Oh my, yes, he has an entire collection called Cautionary, I think it's called Cautionary Tales for Children, or maybe Cautionary Verses for Children. And I have one here titled George, who played with a dangerous toy and suffered a catastrophe of considerable dimensions. When George's grandmama was told that George had been as good as gold, she promised in the afternoon to buy him an immense balloon. And so she did. But when it came, it got into the candle flame. And being of a dangerous sort, exploded with a loud report. The lights went out. The windows broke. The room was filled with reeking smoke. And in the darkness, shrieks and yells were mingled with electric bells, and falling masonry and groans, and crunching as of broken bones, and dreadful shrieks, when worst of all, the house itself began to fall. It tottered, shuddering to and fro, then crashed into the street below, which happened to be Savile Row. When help arrived, among the dead were Cousin Mary, little Fred, the footman, both of them, the groom, the man that cleaned the billiard room, the chaplain, and the still room maid, and I am dreadfully afraid that Monsieur Champignon, the chef, will now be permanently deaf, and both his aides are much the same, while George, who was in part to blame, received, you will regret to hear, a nasty lump behind the ear. Moral. The moral is that little boys should not be given dangerous toys. That was probably written around 1903, 1906, at the time that this photograph was taken, in the days before the trigger warning. Whoops. I kind of read through it and didn't completely read through it, and probably should. Trigger warnings are very hard to remember to do when you're old, because we just plow forward in, the old days. And so please forgive me if that freaked you out, but that was a children's poem. And I wonder what was in that balloon, because you know what it reminds me of? When I used to be an elementary ed major back in the 90s, I went to a chemistry class in this wonderful old auditorium. That was an important detail. It was like those theater chairs that bend down, like they open up, but they were wood. Anyway, important detail. One day, our chemistry teacher, chemistry for education majors, brought in 3 balloons and had this flame on a very long pole, okay? And one by one, he would pop them as he told us what they were filled with. And one was filled with just ordinary, like, air, like somebody blew it up, right? Or maybe just a composition of what we breathe, right? And he popped it, and it went pop, like at a birthday party, right? And the second one had freaking, I think, helium or something. It had some other gas. I don't want to say something stupid like, oh my God, Amy, if it had been nitrogen, the whole world would have blown up. But it was a louder pop, whatever it was, whatever that gas was in there. But I do know the third one was hydrogen, which the Hindenburg was filled with, right? And he said to us, I am not kidding, cover your ears. And then he set that flame to it on that long, long pole, and the boom shook. So that kind of sounds like what was in George's balloon in the Hilaire Belloc poem, which has the long title, George, who played with a dangerous toy and suffered a catastrophe of considerable dimensions. Somewhere I have a book, and maybe I still do. I bought it when I was in my 20s working at the library, thinking one day I'll have kids and they're going to need this. The Hilaire Belloc cautionary verses. And they all start like with a name, and then who did this and blah, blah, blah. This happened, like played in the mud and got corrected by his uncle. That's one of them. So English poet, Hilaire Belloc. Hilaire. I mean, that was genuinely his middle name. I can't remember what his first name was. I checked because I'm like, I have this memory that he was sort of hilarious, and then his name is Hilaire. It's like you find out what your name means, and you're like, okay, that's what I got to go do. It's easy. That would be cool. Oh, my last name, like I've said it before. I have a book called Death in Early America, and the author's last name is Coffin. If your last name is Coffin, you're kind of like, I have some options here, and maybe I don't want to be an undertaker or what have you. I'll just write about the history of death in various places. So I applaud that. If your last name is Baker, easy, right? You know your destiny. So, as I say, my maiden name meant person who lived in a field, and my married name means tax collector. So that's a step up, I guess, if you like money. I don't know if I do. I'm not very familiar with it. I'm a poet. So, okay, that was that. I will show you. No. I got ahead of myself. I haven't even drawn a beautiful word for tomorrow yet. Wow. Get going on Hilaire Belloc and it all comes tumbling down. The word for tomorrow. Ooh, this is a word that I love. Euphoria. Euphoria. Sometimes I use euphoria to talk about how my stomach feels when I eat oatmeal. I know that's really weird, right? But I discovered it when I was trying to eat better, that if I, not the packaged kind that's got the bunch of sugar added, but if I just I've got this trick I like to think I invented, and I'm going to share it with you. You take your little Batman thermos that used to belong to your kid, right? And you put I don't know, a third of a cup, however hungry you are in the morning, a third of a cup or a half a cup of like dried oats, okay? Just plain old dried oats. And then you heat up your kettle and then you pour the boiled or like hot water over the oats in the thermos to about like twice as much water. So you kind of line it up with your eyes. Doesn't have to be exact. And you see, well, the oats come about up to here. I'm going to pour the water about twice as much. And then you put the lid on it and then you wander off and you go do what you do. And I tell you, you could forget about it for a couple hours and it would still be hot. But if you're, you only need like 10 minutes, right? And and then you stir it up. And I would try to add stuff like berries and maybe cinnamon and try not to add more sugar. But if I added like a little bit of honey or brown sugar, that was okay, just a little bit. And then like maybe butter if you really wanted to get nuts. And like I would eat that when I got to work. I'd like make it, put it in the car, get to work at the switchboard, and then eat it before it was time for me to go on. And then while I'd be working, it'd just be like, oh my gosh, it was like my stomach was like, it was like it was glowing. It was, so that's just a body chemistry thing. Oatmeal might not be that for you, but for me, it definitely was. Euphoria. So I'll write my oatmeal poem for tomorrow. I think I just did. Let's go back and transcribe it after I rewatch. Euphoria. So just great. I can't wait to actually, I always love to look it up and see what it's like. I feel like I know what it means, but I want to see what words they use. And sometimes that, pardon me, informs the poem that I'm going to write, is some of the words that were used in the definition. So that's the beautiful word biz for today. Next comes the poetry hat. We have 3 days left and I have plenty of these, but I feel like it's been a celebration and it's coming to a close. And so I might have to collage something for the last poetry hat or two, whether I'm combining Frankenstein style, our different leftover block prints, or I used a magazine sweater in the sweater poems just like once or twice last year. So I think there'll be some variation for the last 2 days. But for today, we will return to our Perry Mason witness and her glorious fur hat with beads and apply the following phrase. Really, it's bubbling in my soul because there are only 3 left. And this is one of my favorite things to do, is pull these random phrases. And what's it going to be? It's going to be, the lady loved us, wept the pines. The lady loved us, wept the pines. As I read that again, I'm sure it's talking about me when I'm dead, because I love this big row that did not exist. This is my childhood home. There's a big row of white pines. I live on a dead-end street, and there's, oh God, I'm just like, hey, yeah, come find. I tell way too much, but anyway, like 8 people are watching, and you're all wonderful souls. I know that much. Anyway, these beautiful white pines in my yard that were not there until my little boy was maybe 2 or 3. And so I lived like all these years without them, where you could just see across the field. But I love them. Did I tell you about the time that I I went out there, and because I would sit with them and feel all hippie and connected and feel like I was breathing better, which I'm sure I was, and feel like I was, had oatmeal euphoria throughout my entire soul and stuff like that. And so then like one day I looked at them when things were going badly, like I was having a bad day or a bad week or something, and not to be dramatic, but we all have them, right? And I go and I look at one of the white pines, and its needles, it's got like a bunch of off-color needles, like, they're supposed to be this pale green, and there's a bunch of them that are sort of rust colored. And I just despaired. I was like, I've killed them with my bad vibes or whatever, or they're gonna die and leave me. It was a lot, but you know what? Sometimes this is life, right? Where I take things personally too much sometimes, like, just the songs of the universe affect me deeply. And so I was like telling it, oh God, people are, this is definitely going too far to confess that I was like, be well, pine tree, please be well. I'm looking at the ones next to it. They seem to be like contracting the problem as I speak. And I'm like, please, you've got to be well. I need you. And I am telling you, I didn't go out there. I was so bummed about it. I didn't go look at them for a couple of days. And a couple of days later, they were fine. Maybe there is a net. Don't tell me if you're a botanist and you're like, well, that's a natural thing with the white pine. They turn rusty and then they fall off and then everything's cool. I was like, I healed them, or they healed for me because they knew I needed it, or the Lord healed them, or something. I don't know. That had that happened. Anyway, blah blah blah, hippie gibberish. Okay. Oh, that was a wonderful like noise of coffee in this little fox mug I gave my kid for Christmas one year. Not that he drinks coffee, but cocoa and such. All right, onward to I have been featuring some. I got coffee on my face. Sorry, but this is a Howling Breakfast of Moon Soda, which is the available book of poetry of mine on Amazon.com. That was such a roundabout way to say it. A Howling Breakfast of Moon Soda, which is it seems like how they used to name some of these like alternative rock bands in the 90s, where it looked like they just Neutral Milk Hotel, the one with the name Emily in it that I can't remember, Olivia Tremor Control. It looks like they had a beautiful words can and just pulled out 3 and said, that's our name now. But the logic behind a Howling Breakfast of Moon Soda is the last year, 1 year ago, National Poetry Month 2022, I did some chapbooks. I actually wrote this in February of 2022, Hot Soda, stitched it into a chapbook that I did kind of giveaways with last year. Moon Devoured I wrote in March and then put into a little book. It's got this block print cover that I printed in silver on. I have silver ink printed on this dark blue. And that one's about like moon merging. Oh gosh, this whole thing. Just go find all this stuff from, I know it was a lot, Kitty. He wants to go outside. And I'm clearly in poetry mode. Hot Soda was the one inspired by the Atlas Obscura article about hot soda. That was something that soda shops did, like soda fountains, in winter to maintain their clientele when the weather was cold. And Moon Devoured was about, the moon as a muse and moon merging. Angela had a dream about merging with a spider and then knowing all these truths. I think I might have added that last part, but I think there was definitely some, oh no, what's happening as this spider is devouring her in her dream, this giant spider. And then she's like, oh, I see. Yes. So Angela's wonderfully mystical. And then finally Maple Syrup Collides with Ham, which is a collection of breakfast poetry that I wrote like throughout, starting in say 2014, 2015 through 2017 or 18. But I'm sure I added some last year when I was putting it all together. Howling. This is 4 chapbooks in one. So 3 of them are those. And then the final one is called The Psychophonic Howling. And so they're all, it's like you get your bang for your buck with the Howling Breakfast of Moon Soda because it is kind of thicker than some of the others. And I just price them all at $10, and sometimes they go on sale. I don't know the rhyme or reason of that, but I'm always for it. And if I discover it, I try to say, hey, look, my book is on sale on my Instagram stories. But yeah, they got some, all the art in them is lino cut. So that's fun. But I'm going to read a couple of 3 poems from here. And there's like I did include like the cover of the chapbooks when the new story would be, the new chapbook would begin. But there's also like Rimbaud and a pop bottle. I carved a pop bottle and then I just kept putting little faces in them and eyes and fun. Alrighty, let's read the very first poem in Hot Soda. What's yours? Fuel for sanity. Hers, sung in harmony, companioneering, lavish conversation, many rounds of truth or dare, eye contact. What did you do today? Choose, please, 2 of the 5. He is unable to accommodate. This flays her. She forms a habit. Her habit is ellipses. And then the collection goes on to say what her habit is, which is basically, how do you fall asleep at night? What stories do you tell yourself? All in the context of Hot Soda, where it comes up again and again and again and again and again. And that is the Hot Soda one. This one is from, I think it's from Moon Devoured. There's a moon on the next page. There's that moon that turned into a sticker. This was a fun cover because I made a bunch of little block prints and then like combined them in a whole bunch of different ways and then chose the one I like best. There's a little coffee pot. Ooh, no, go that way. There it is. Yeah, there's a little wolf. Oh, it's fun. All right. Okie dokie. Here we are. Got it. This is from Moon Devoured, the moon merging muse one. I take to staring. How expertly I stare, flipping the switch, tapping in. All music binds to my insides, braids with my veins. Poetica is the blood of my scalp. Things gleam, everyday objects, walls and wallpaper, cocoa pots and goblets, now sequined, elevated to poetry. Words form in ether-strung angelite beads in all ungated colors as I stare. The muse lights my cigarette. I inhale its hazing perfume and experience my death as a musical variety play, all purple and scarlet. The hats are stunning. Their plumes chant the chorus parts. There's more, but I'm going to stop there. Seems like a good stopping point. And finally, and this one is, I'm skipping an offering from what do you call it? Maple Syrup Collides with Ham, because that is what I read last National Poetry Month. Every single day, a poem from Maple Syrup Collides with Ham. And if you were really on the ball, about a week before the end of National Poetry Month, you could get your hands on a copy of this before I was even done reading them. Oh, wow. So those were some magical times. But I will read one from Howling Breakfast of Moon Soda. My teeth are coated in brandy and ache like muscle. This is the dry well of the mind. What is next, Lord? What is next? Hoarding scripture to read another day amounts to piles of unopened letters from a far-flung acquaintance you claim to adore. I adore him, you spout. Oh, look, he has written. I'll read it next week or so, if I find the time. And that is just some excerpts from A Howling Breakfast of Moon Soda, available at this time on Amazon.com for Chapbooks in One, poems by Amy Zollers. So, won't you enjoy? And the time is, okay, it's cool. I am working today, and it's Spirit Week, and I have my library shirt to wear. That's the Spirit Day. Wear a library shirt. I want to show you, though, that I did go to half-price books yesterday. I didn't mean to. My son's all like, hey, Mom, want to stop in at Half Price Books, because he loves that store. In fact, there's a funny story about when he was 10 years old. I probably told it already. When he was 10 years old and we lived in Texas, he found this app that there's a little tiny bug on my computer screen, and now I'm mesmerized. It's like a screensaver. Anyway, he had this app that you could put any photo in with people, and you could click on their head and a cat head, and you could put a cat head on their body. And it was so funny, and we laughed, and then we printed out pictures of it and sent them to my dad and stuff like that, and my sister and my aunt, and we just had all these cat head photos that were so funny. It was like a realistic cat head. And so anyway, at Half Price Books in the town where I live, like 2 minutes from the house, we walk in one day, and we sell books there frequently, right? Because we have too many books, and we love books, and we always want to buy more. And there have been times we go in and we're like, okay, we've got 4 boxes of books, and our goal is to have enough money at the end of this to go eat at First Watch. And so that happened a couple of times. It worked. But anyway, we walk in one day, and we're just walking in, and we walk by, and I was looking at the wall. I think I must have been selling books, because they've got this little wood panel right next to the selling counter. And there's a photo on the wall that says Employee of the Month, and it is my boy at like age 10 in his Easter shirt and tie at church with a cat head. So they found that, and they're like, oh my God, this is hilarious. We're gonna put it on the wall. And it's been on the wall for like at least a year. And I was there yesterday, and it's still there. So my cat head son is still Employee of the Month. Half Price Books. Thank you. Oh my gosh, it's 23 minutes on a work day. What the crap? Okay, so anyway, my boy says, hey Mom, want to go to Half Price Books? And I was like, okay, sure, let's go. And I'm thinking, I don't need to buy anything. I've got all the poetry in the world and everything's great. And then we get going toward there, and he's like, I hope you find something. He's being all nice and, warm-hearted, because he just is sometimes. It's like, I hope you find something you like. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? We're going to Half Price Books. I'm going to find something I like. Guess who found nothing? My son. Guess who found everything? His mother. So here's what we found in the poetry section. I did not stray. From the poetry section. No, I did not, in fact. Here's Louise Gluck, the first 4 books of poems. How could I not? I could not. Oh, night, the angel of death flies low over my father's bed. Oh, been there. Oh, shit. Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Anyway, this is going to be, and then I'm going to put it down my shirt, and then I'm going to bite it, and I'm sorry. That was way too much insight. Okay, next. Harsh Glare Carnival. It's the title. Tom Wayne. I have not heard of this poet, but Harsh Glare Carnival. Well played, Tom Wayne, because absolutely I did pick it up, and but he's also, when I was flipping through it, got an incredible way with words. There's a title. There's one titled Fang, A Smile into Eternity. It's just, that one's got the F word in it. I won't say it out loud, and we'd have some interesting cops. Oh my gosh. I wish I was off. I would just like No, I won't say that. That's not the thing, not the way I was going to say. At the Fortune Cafe by Irene Willis. I also love that title. I also love the tone. I was reading from it, and there's a lot of like what I do with poetry sometimes, where it's just like, well, I'm just like, I feel crappy, so it's going to go into the poetry. Don't always do that, but sometimes. Angela Rico Smith. I will show you the cover. I won't reveal the title because when I text her, like, she's in Brazil. She's like, that is the one I want no one to ever read. Don't read it. And then we had this whole texting conversation about how I was flipping through the eye of Tony Hicks, my very first released book of poetry, like 12 years ago, almost 13 years ago. And I was like, oh, I'd read it. I'd reread it since. And I'd been like, it's not as bad as I thought. But then last night when I was reading it, thinking I promised I would share things from this on the last day of National Poetry Month. And I'm like, I can't find anything that doesn't make me want to like run away. So we'll see how that goes. Angela said this is her equivalent. So, hey, man, what it is it is a rung on your ladder of poetry, of life. It's your life journey. And there it is. Catalog. By the way, free bags for spending more than $25. But I found this for $15, and it is the Essential Poetry Collection. And I'm going to take the plastic off right here, right now. This is going on half an hour. Forgive me, Lord. I don't know if that's a sin, but here we are. I love poetry. I love Poetry Month. I'm going to suck the marrow out of it for the last 3 days as I shake the books out of this box. Here's what we have in that box that was $50 list and $15 at half price books. That's less than half price. I'm just doing the math right now. The poetry of John Donne. The poetry of Oscar Wilde. Don't bite it. Don't bite it in your blue lipstick. The poetry of Elizabeth Barrett Browning. The poetry of W.B. Yeats. Thank you, God. The poetry of Emily Dickinson. Look at these covers, too. Have mercy. The poetry of Walter Whitman. We read his Woman Watching the Male Bathers poem the other day. What's this? The poetry of William Wordsworth. And then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. Oh my gosh. The poetry of Shelley. Just Shelley. Not Percy Shelley. Not Percy Bysshe Shelley. But, you know, the poetry of Shelley. Please, please. Please go watch Mary Shelley starring Elle Fanning. It's on Tubi, which is free right now. It's about Mary Shelley, who wrote the book Frankenstein. I don't know who plays Percy Shelley, but well done. All right. The poetry of Edward Lear, humorous poet. The poetry of John Keats. To a nightingale. There's your nightingale. And a journal with poetry quotations. Emily Dickinson. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm getting a little filled with life. Okay, which I love. So that was the haul. Thank you for joining me for that. Did I do everything? Did I get a word? Did I get a phrase? I did. The pines, they wept. The Lady Loved Us, Wept the Pines, and Euphoria. So that'll be for tomorrow, Klaus Forman's birthday. Wear your party hats. And I got to go eat some euphoric oatmeal and help people find what they need at the library, which is like the best actual paying job in the world. I know there are some poets who make money, but I was going to say, there are some poets who make money, but I'm not necessarily one of them. However, you can go to Amazon.com. I will put my author link in the comments, and you can definitely just load up on some poetry, because you know why? Because National Poetry Month is ending, and let us look at this as we are loading. We are gonna do our canning for the winter months, which means, you know, there won't be poetry broadcast every single day of the month, and beautiful word drawings that you are witness to, and poetry hats, etc. So you might just need to go to Amazon, look up Amy Zollers, and just fill your cart. And I'm not opposed to that. Anyhow, live your lives in whatever poetic way you choose. And broadcast, I'm stuck here forever. I'm in limbo. Let's just the